It's 5 o'clock on Saturday, so you know what time it is. Time for another episode of Erik Whiskey Studies Live. I've been looking forward to this all week. Donner Pass, thanks for tuning in. Um, there's a lot of whiskeys that I try, I really like, that are well made, and generally say give them good scores or whatever. But I'm trying to be as objective as I can about a whiskey so that I see the quality of how they're made. You can like something, or you can think something's really well made, but it's not your thing. Say a music. So you could have a musician or a singer, for instance, a really good singer. Maybe you don't like opera, but you could hear an opera singer and go, "Yeah, they're a really good singer." Or maybe you don't particularly care for heavy metal music, but go, "Yeah, a person's a talented guitarist." Well, in a similar way, you can respect and note the qualities of a wine or a whiskey without it necessarily being your style. You can think it's well made, but not being your particular style. Rye, for example, I'm not a big rye guy. I only have maybe 2 bottles of rye, maybe a high rye bourbon, but I'm not a big rye guy. So there are whiskeys that I try. I think they're well made. I think they have a good development. I think um, they have a lot of complexity to it. They have sufficient or really, really good age to it. I think they are well balanced, so on and so forth. But they may or may not be my particular style. Then there are those whiskeys that you come across them and you're just like, wow, man, wow, wow. You just like, what that is really something. I really, really love this. Well, my particular profile that just I really, really like, it's 5 S's, is a sherry cask. I like it to be smoky. I like peated whiskeys. I like it to be spicy. I like it to be, I think, savory, and I like some sweetness to it. I like those 5 qualities in a whiskey. And when a whiskey has all of that, then I'm like, boom. Now, tonight's whiskeys have everything there except for the smoky part. These are non-peated whiskeys. Hey, Richard Z, man, how you doing, man? It's been all since it's here. If you ever make it out to Half Moon Bay, let me know. Fraser Thistle, drinking a Dalwhinnie 15-year-old. All right. So I've been thinking all week about these 2 whiskeys and really looking forward to going head to head with them. Now, last week I did head to head with the Bruichladdich Classic Laddie and an Aaron 10-year-old. From what I've heard and talked, the Bruichladdich Classic Laddie can have some variation. So it all depends on what bottling you have. Some people really like it. Some people not so much. I think those who are not so much, or they said some sort of. I've had some of the comments say they got some funny notes on it. I think it's a particular bottling of it that they don't particularly care for, or maybe they didn't let it breathe, or whatever else. But both of those whiskeys, what I didn't know is both of those are contenders in the OSWA, the Online Scotch Whisky Awards. Now, I've been so busy with my particular whiskey studies and busy with work. I have another project I'm starting on that I won't really launch until after I finish these exams. It's not related to whiskey or wine. And when I pass the exam, if I want to pass the exam, I'll be devoting more time to that, as well as stuff related to work. So I've not been really following, although I watch the videos real closely, all the information about the Online Scotch Whisky Award, just because I'm busy. So last night I thought, you know what? Before I forget, I think the deadline is the 22nd, if I recall. If you haven't voted already, the 22nd would be no, it's got to be earlier than that. Yeah, the 22nd. So Sunday, the 22nd. And then the announcements of who the winner is Saturday, November 4th. So Saturday, November 4th. So if you haven't voted yet and you intended to vote, check it out. And if you don't see a whiskey in there that you think is the best for that category, you can do a write-in as well. So I did mine last night, and I noticed the Bruichladdich Classic Latte is on there, the Aaron 10-year-old, so my intent was not to influence anyone. Also, the Bunnahabhain Cask Strength, 12 Cask Strength is on the list, but this is the 2021 edition. I've heard people say the 20, and I really like this one, the 2022 is even better. I think in previous years, the Glenfarclas 105 was on it. I didn't see it this year. Personally, I think the Glenfarclas 105 is sort of a neglected whiskey, one that doesn't get enough recognition, I would say. Doesn't get enough recognition by whiskey tubers because I think it's absolutely fantastic. I think it's reasonably priced and generally readily available. How many Scotch whiskey distilleries have a cask strength on their core range? You know, Ardbeg has, you know, Corryvreckan and Ugodal. Other distilleries, not so much. Now, Glenfarclas has a really large core range, but if you look at the ABVs on them, they're all like 43. And I think their youngest one is at 40. So it's like they kind of jump from 43 and all of a sudden, boom, to 60% alcohol by volume. And I'll put the slide up in a second. I'll show you the profile of these whiskeys. But it's also the only non-age statement in their core range. Bunnahabhain is a very good whiskey. I have 2 bottles of it, and I drunk a third. Mariko, how you doing, man? Thanks for tuning in. Rob Smith, thanks for tuning in. So Bunnahabhain is probably now really my favorite Islay distillery. When Taylor and I visited Islay, it was my second visit to Islay, and revisited the distillery, not only in terms of the quality of the whiskeys, and they were very generous in what they let us taste when they were there. We did a Warehouse 9 tasting, and then we went to the tasting room, and they kept giving us little samples. And I have more samples that I brought back here from the distillery, so we got more my money's share. It's a beautiful distillery in terms of the views. They have a new tasting room that has a porch out on it, and you kind of kick back and just enjoy the gentle not really waves, but sort of the water trickling in, and you can see Jura in the distance and see the docks. Absolutely fantastic. I know not everyone can get out to Scotland, but if you're serious about Scotch whiskey, if you're a student of Scotch whiskey, it's a must do. When I was studying for the Court of Master Sommeliers and Institute Masters of Wine, the Wines for Educational Trust, when I interacted with Masters of Wine and Master Sommeliers, one of the things they emphasize in your education, preparing for exams, is the importance of getting out there and visiting other countries. Go to France, go to Italy, go to Germany, go to Spain, in terms of the wineries, wine countries, to get a sense of the place. And I think in studying whiskey, personally, it's just me. If you're studying for the if you're studying for the Council Whiskey Masters Master of Scotch exam, and you haven't already been to Scotland and visited the distilleries, I personally would hold off from taking the exam until you got to visit Scotland. If you're going to take the Master of Scotch exam in Kentucky and you haven't been to Scotland, how can you call? I'm sorry. How can you call yourself a Master of Scotch when you haven't even been to the motherland? Right? You need to go to Scotland. Need to go to Scotland. It's just a much more in-depth understanding. You're better off spending whatever money you would spend for some certification and spend it on going to Scotland, or any, whether it's the whiskey marketing school or whatever else, spend it on going to Scotland. A couple grand for a flight. The fees for tasting a distillery, $50 here, $50 there, whatever. It isn't that much. Hotels, the rental car can get quite expensive. All righty. So really, we're looking forward to tonight. Let me show you. Yes, it is a non-age statement. Let me show you the Someday I will get to Scotland. Let me show you excuse me. I have never ending allergies. So I'm coughing and sneezing. I've been sneezing all this week. I didn't sneeze or cough once that I can remember once in Scotland. Here, coughing and sneezing all the time. All right. So the Bunnahabhain versus Glenfarclas. The Bunnahabhain is a 12-year-old. The Glenfarclas 105 is a non-age statement. Now, on these next notes, okay, the Bunnahabhain 12, ex-bourbon and ex-sherry cask. The Glenfarclas website looks fancy. It doesn't really provide a lot of notes. It's they need to provide more. I don't understand Scotch whiskey distillers, particularly a lot of the Diageo ones, just a real lack of information. And so you have to go to a third party, and then I start looking at whether it's blogs, books, whatever, and I often find conflicting information. So some sources were saying that the Glenfarclas 105 is 100% sherry cask. Some were saying that there is some ex bourbon and then also ex sherry cask. Some, and just Google around, were saying that the Glenfarclas 105 is between 8 and 10 years old. Um, that's third party information, and don't know how well you can rely on that. So the Bunnahabhain 12 cask strength, 55.1% alcohol by volume. Of course, this is the 2021 edition. And the Glenfarclas 105, 60% ABV, and it's always marked 60 ABV. It doesn't go up or down, which makes me think that's pretty much controlled. It's not cask strength in terms of straight from the cask. They're adjusting it to keep it at that level. Of course, prices vary where you're at. Bunnahabhain 12 cask strength, if you can find it, it's a little more challenging to get, $110 plus, whereas the Glenfarclas, a little bit more, I would say, widely available. It starts at around $99. So the pros and cons here are Bunnahabhain 12, obviously an age statement. Glenfarclas, a non-age statement. Probably similar casking. The Glenfarclas, a little bit more ABV and a little bit cheaper. A little bit cheaper. All righty. Phil Kerr. Hello, Eric. Hello, guys. Thank you much for turning in, Phil. Cheers, all. Having a Westland American malt. Sounds good. One of these days, I'll probably do a dive into American single malts. I know the Scotch 4 Dummies have been doing that. Interesting to see what's coming along in American single malts. So color-wise, near identical. Near identical. I'll put this up there. I don't know how well you can see that, but basically your typical copper, slight sort of golden copper in color. Golden copper in color. I would say the Glenfarclas is slightly shinier, slightly clearer. Now, the Glenfarclas 105 has been on previous Council of Whiskey Master of Scotch exams, which is the main reason why I want to bring this one in. A little tingle on my nose in that one. Hey, Eric, don't forget, it's cask strength. About an hour ago, I had just a little bit of a Glendronach 12-year-old to sort of prep the palate. Good thing to do. You wouldn't want to do it with a peated whiskey. If you're going to do a particular style of whiskeys, particularly a higher ABV, maybe about an hour. Take something at a lower ABV, 40, 43 ABV, just a little bit to sort of set your palate, clean off anything that might have been remaining from breakfast or lunch or dinner, and set your palate. So a little tingle on the nose. One of the things I'm doing is in practicing for exams, make a note on the structure of the whiskey, not just aromas and flavors, so that when you approach this again, and what we want to do is, and I already did an hour ago, take a 12-year-old sherry cask whiskey, and note the differences that jump. The first thing you notice, I mean, you can't really get your nose down, down, down in there because all you start getting a little tingling character from the high ABV. Maple sugar, maple sugar, brown sugar, a little maple syrup, or maple sugar. If you got some maple sugar, there you go. A little brown sugar, maple syrup, baking spices, cinnamon. It's almost like cola or root beer kind of character. Orange, dried oranges, dates. I remember when I was a kid growing up, there it was. I think people would give them as gifts or something. It'd be like a plate about this big, and it would have all kinds of dried fruits on it, and then it would come with like these little toothpicks or something, and you bring them to work maybe, and people bring food, stuff to share, at work, and you pick a little toothpick and you go, "Pff," and you get the dates, and the dates were kind of gooey, um, and sticky because they're dried. They're kind of sticky and dried. This reminds me of that with the spice and there's some raisins. It then reminds me of baklava. If you ever and a little bit of a honey note there, reminds you of baklava. If you never had baklava, you're missing out. One of the greatest things. Baklava, multitude of layers of very thin pastry with nuts, honey, brown sugar, and all kinds of goodness. And it's different regions in the Mediterranean make different. So that from Greece, Turkey, Israel, and so forth, there's sort of a variation of the same sort of idea, depending on what country you're getting it from. All right, the Bunnahabhain. Hmm. The Bunnahabhain, similar casking or same casking, similar in the nose, but not as spicy. Total wine. Oh, you guys having a conversation? Bunna 12, 46 ABV is amazing. Yes, it is. And the cash strength is in, but can you imagine a sherry bomb that cash strength must be? And the thing is, it's not just, I've gone through, I think, 3 bottles over the last 6 years of the Bunnahabhain 12. And I think it's 46.3, if I remember correctly. I'm going to look that up here in a second, check my memory. It's not just that it's more of the same. There's something lost in the translation and bringing it down. There are additional notes in there, but again, the Bunnahabhain 12 is a definite one of my most recommended from um, Islay. Bunnahabhain 12. I'm going to check my memory. Is 46.3. 46.3. I was right. Studying and trying to amass a lot of information. I think it's getting harder at my age. And then recall. And if you're under stress from exams, it makes it even more difficult. Or if you're tired, you got excuse me, jet lag. I should mute it when I cough. Or jet lag. It just adds to the layers of difficulty, or it's late in the day or whatever. So anytime I come across something, hey, is that this? Is that this? Is this? Quickly look it up just to confirm my memory. Yeah, it's a way of just constantly testing myself. So I start the week with a review of a whiskey of a distillery, provide a profile, do a review of that whiskey, and then throughout the week I've been posting flashcards, shorts under a minute. I talk about a whiskey from that distillery, and then provide a quiz question. And at the end of the week is what I'm doing in the series, and then do a live stream in which I'll be going head to head. Eventually, I need to start doing more blind tasting. So I would say the Bunnahabhain 12 cask strength. The main thing that's different It's not quite as spicy. In fact, I would say the spiciness of the Glenfarclas 105 is very similar to Highland Park spiciness. So, what I want to do then is grab a Highland Park cask strength. Excuse me, I'm holding back a belch. Get a Highland Park cask strength and go head to head with that one. But let's do this one first. So, not quite as spicy, similar notes, not as intense. Not as intense. Why? Why is it not as intense? We go back to the notes. That 5%, generally, that 5% is making that much of a difference. That 60% ABV is really tingling the nose. Wow. In fact, before I start tasting, I'm going to grab another glass. I'm going to grab the Highland Park cask strength. I'm just going to pour a little bit. The Highland Park cask strength is bottled at 63.3. 63.3. So it's even higher than the Glenfarclas 105. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. Highland Park cask strength, I think they go for probably a 90 to about a 110. Non-age statement is like the Glenfarclas 105. 63.3% alcohol by volume. I think it's the best banquet for the buck from Highland Park. And I've become much more a bigger and bigger fan of Highland Park. Particularly as you get away from all the goofy bottles. Highland Park. I may have burned out my nose. That's funny. Yeah. Maybe I'm just maybe my nose is acclimating. No. Bunnahabhain's opening up more. The Highland Park is not coming across as spicy as I remembered it, but it is there. But it's there. Highland Park's got some really nice spicy cask. All right, I'm going to put that off to the side. Let's get back to the 105 and the Bunnahabhain. On the palate. Wow. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Which HP release? Um, probably 2 years ago. I put the bottle back. Probably about 2 years ago. Wow. So my tongue is a little numb. It's very, very, very intense. The nose is confirmed. Everything you got on the nose, you get on the palate. This is just blatantly obvious well above 50% ABV. Wow. It doesn't come across as young. There's no youth notes to it. You can have a real high ABV cask strength whiskey that has those youth notes. Annandale, which is in the lowlands. Roy Aquavite and I visited the distillery, and they're peated. It's a peated lowland. Um, they're releasing them at like 5 year old, I think. There one's called Man of Sword, and the other one's called Man of Word, I believe, if I recall. Two of the bottlings. They're real young. They'll have a lot of youth to it. Wow. So the nung has gone dumb. The tongue has gone a little numb. Intensely spicy. Big dates, raisins, that brown sugar note. Sweet on entry, a little bit more savory on the finish with it's a long spicy finish. Mm, 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 mm. I'm gonna let myself recover a little bit, take a little bit of a break before we get on the next one, and um, we'll get into our quiz. Just poured. The only thing I have comparable is the Tamdu batch strength. So, what batch do you have? I have batch number 5. Their current batch is number 7. I have not tried this yet. So here's batch number 5. I bought this, put it on my shelf. This will be done in the series. This is batch number 5. I've not yet even tried this yet. So I basically bought. I planned everything like months in advance. This whole series, I planned. I don't know, 6 months in advance. My trips to Scotland, I planned 6 months in advance. I have an itinerary for my trip to Scotland. I create an itinerary for my videos. So I have a folder on my computer, and it's full of folders of this entire series. So everything's plotted out way in advance, long before the Oswas were started for this year. The bottles, I buy all the bottles ahead of time. So I'm just not getting around to them. So I bought that a while back and just haven't gotten around to it. In fact, I've got bottles of scotch that are not among the testable. They're not part of the 24 testable ones, although they say anything could be on the exam. I will get to those after I pass the exam, but we'll continue this series in the way in which I do it with those bottles, like Ardnamurchan. Ardnamurchan's not on the list, but I'll do an Ardnamurchan. Anyway, that's a batch number 5. I think the most current one is batch number 7, and uh, I have batch 2 as well. Oh, batch 2. Okay, batch 2. Wow, that's an older one. So the current one is batch number 7. I know that because I was writing my notes on the distillery and looking at the website. All right, let's get into our quiz. As my tongue recovers from the numbness, the dumbness of this high cask strength whiskey, I am gonna add a little water to it. Yeah, that one you're gonna turn to normal drink. You're gonna want to add some water to it. All right, question number 1. What does the name Bunnahabhain mean? And if you're new watching this, the BH together is pronounced like a V. So it's a Bunnahabhain. I've heard some people say Bunnahabhain, but it's BH is V. Bunnahabhain. A small promontory. B, mouth of the river. C, hollow of the mill. Or D, sunken rock. What does Bunnahabhain mean? What does Bunnahabhain mean? All right, here's the answer. Mouth of the river. Mouth of the river. All right. And that is a bite. All right. So let's get into the Bunnahabhain 12 cask strength. So the Bunnahabhain, I might state the obvious, the Bunnahabhain 12 cask strength is more approachable. It's big, it's bold, it's mouth filling. It's almost like a creamy texture. There is a distinctive saltiness, and I'm not saying this just because they're right on there on the ocean. There's a distinctive saltiness on the finish. There is a character, it reminds me of it has more of a chocolate character in the mid palate with a little bit of a nuttiness, saltiness, caramel, but it also has those dried black fruit notes and it's more graceful on the palate. Now, the issue would be, it would be a pure estimate. I have a spoon here. I can put some water in the Glenfarclas. If I were to bring the Glenfarclas down to equivalent ABV with just maybe a little drop, how that would they compare? But man, this is delicious. Mm. There's more of a little bit of an herbal savoriness and a richness. The Glenfarclas 105, it's more of an attack, but that's because it's just so intense. I like the transitions on the Bunnahabhain cask strength more. Let me drink some water. Mm. Let's do our next question as we as I recover from from these big boys. When was Bunnahabhain Distillery founded? A, 1779, B, 1815, C, 1816, or D, 1881. All of these are actual dates from distilleries on Islay. Sorry, my whistling. Try drinking a cask strength whiskey and then try whistling. That it's not easy, man. That it really makes. And I can usually whistle better than that. And the answer is 1881. 1881. The other distillery on Islay, also founded in 1881, also begins with a B, and that is Bruichladdich. Bruichladdich, which we covered last week. And 1779 is Bowmore. So Bowmore is the oldest distillery on Islay. So the 1815 is Lagavulin. I mean, I maybe I know it's Ardbeg, and Lagavulin in 1816 is Laphroaig. All right. Excuse me. Let's do another quiz question. Who is the owner of Bunnahabhain Distillery? Who is the owner of Bunnahabhain Distillery? If you're watching my shorts during the week, not the ones I'm wearing, the ones on my channel, if you're watching my video shorts during the week, you will notice that you've already seen these. A, Moet Hennessy Louis Vuitton, also known as LVMH. B, Burns Stewart Distillers. C, Remy Cointreau. Or D, Diageo. Glenturret is not on Islay, but yes, it's also reportedly the oldest distillery. There's always debates about that kind of a thing. B. Glenturret is oldest, but it close for all. Okay, so then you get the oldest family owned distillery, the oldest continuously running distillery, the oldest still owned by the Scots distillery, the oldest fill in the blank single malt distillery, the oldest. You can go on and on, and you little qualifiers to why yours is the oldest. All right. And their answer is Burns Stewart's. Remember this question because the last question, We're going to see another reference to Burn Stewart Distillers. All right. Now, I am going to take a spoon and put just a teensy weensy drop into. Actually, you know what? I'm going to do the Highland. This is the Highland Park Cask Strength if you're turning late. So I'm doing a three-way comparison. I didn't plan on doing this. It just popped in my head. Wow. Oh, you know what? I just screwed up. I just screwed up. Uh, I just screwed up. Someone want to put in the comment why I screwed up in tasting the Highland Park? Take a wild guess in terms of tasting why I screwed up. I can't believe I did that. I completely forgot. I was so focused on the cask strength. So focused. Yes. Yes. Yep. What a dummy. All right. Yep. I completely forgot. Yeah, hit the like button and share the channel. Thank you very much. Time to start over. Hey, David Belcher, how you doing, man? Oh man, what a dummy. You know, I was focused so much on the cask strength character and the being heavy on the sherry. I completely forgot that this is that it's peated. Oh well. Time to drink more water and swish it around. But I will tell you that Highland Park cask strength with that just adding a little bit of peat because it's mildly peated. I'll take the Highland Park over these. I'll take the Highland Park as I mentioned before. I want sweet, savory, salty, sherried, and smoky. It has that extra element, that little bit of smoke that's just absolutely delicious. I completely forgot. All right, no worries, no worries. We'll move on. Man, just a little bit of smoke. Wow. All right, I'm going to put just a little bit of water, maybe half a teaspoon, maybe, in the Glenfarclas. No shaky, shaky. No shaky, shaky, as Rafi likes to say. Give it a slight roll around. Bring the ABV down. It still tingles pretty good. So, during the examination, do I want to add water? I probably won't. Everything they pour, I will probably keep neat. You can get additional notes out of it, perhaps, to put into the grid. But once you add water, you can't undo it. By the way, if you plan on taking the exam, they just made available their grid, their tasting grid. Now, there's nothing revelatory on the grid. It's obviously, what are your aromas and flavor notes? What are your thoughts about production on it? What's the ABV? What's the casking? What do you think the potential age is on it? And what do you think the distillery is? I mean, exactly what you'd expect to be on a blind tasting list, but they just made the grid available off camera. I will be probably using it more. They said not to share it. Anybody can make up a grid, and it's exactly what you would expect to be on it. But anyway. Yeah. It is. It is an awesome extra. But if I'm doing a comparison tasting, I should have done it at the end when I was finished with these two. I just stupid me. I forgot I was peated. Why don't you like to shake swirl your whiskey, Erik? So, very good question. And here's the reason why. Number one, all of your professional organizations, the Wine Spirit Educational Trust, the Quartermaster Smalley, well, Quartermaster Smalley did some was talking about spirits, um, Edinburgh Whiskey Academy. And here's the reason why. You will exaggerate the alcohol so that on the nose, you'll be getting the alcohol rather than everything else that's in the whiskey. What is better to do is turn it on its side, give it a slight turn, let the spirit sort of drizzle down or whatever down the side of the glass and evaporate. Use this, what you're smelling is not from here, it's from up here. And allow this space in here, right here, and here to be your aroma center. So what you're doing is by doing this, and then as it sheets down and fills up this place of aromas, you're smelling from there. If you agitate the whiskey, now you don't have to take my word on it. Any professional book on the subject, any professional organization on the subject, that's what they say. This isn't just me or some guys up in Canada saying this. This is what the professionals say. This is what Rafi says. And Rafi's the OG. Now, if you want to shake your whiskey, freaking go for it. I don't care what you do with your whiskey. If you want to put your hand on top and shake it like this, right? If you want to put it in your ear, if you want to put up your bum, you do you. I don't really care. I'm just telling you what the professionals say. There you go. And that's the reason why. Doesn't offend me. I don't get triggered. I really don't care what you do. But that's the professional advice. I'm going to follow it. A wine is different. Wines, they're only 13 to 14.5 typically on average. They need more agitation in order to get all the aromas out of it. Whiskeys, not so much. Spirits, not so much. All right. So a teaspoon of water helps tremendously, tremendously. That harsh bite is gone. The texture has improved. I'm not getting that alcohol heat. The spice, I would say, is more integrated into the rest of the whiskey, so it's not just sort of kicking into the back. And the development has improved. Of course, the challenge of this is, well, these big, huge whiskeys is you quickly get numb, you quickly get saturated with the whiskey, and it becomes more and more challenging. I think Siddharth, he's a massive Scotch. I've had him on before. He said leading up to the exam, he wasn't even tasting; he's just smelling them. He's just basing his evaluation based on smell. I'm not doing that. Some people might spit. I'm not doing that. I just take small sips, just small sips. Are you going to add water to your whiskey in the master's exam? If I'm completely done for the 90% of my evaluation is done, and I just want to do one more note out of it, at the end, then I might at the very when I think I'm about done, then I might do it. Other than that, probably not. Let's get on to our next question. Next question number 3. Oh, I already did that one. Question number 4. What does the word Monia mean? My favorite whiskeys from Bunnahabhain tend to be these Monia. I have a Monia Bordeaux. The best I ever had was a Monia. It was a 2018 Fish Ale Monia Oloroso cask. Probably the best whiskey I've ever had in my entire life. I wish I could get another. I'd get another one, but I have a Monia. I have a couple of Monia Bordeaux casks. I have a Fish Ale edition and a regular special release of Monia. Anyway, so what does Monia mean? Or Moine? Excuse me. I've been muted. Yeah, sorry. I was muted. Okay, sorry, I was muted. I muted myself because I had to burp, and then if I didn't unmute it. I got it. Okay, okay. So let me back up. M- Monya means peated. I know. I'm sorry. I muted myself because I needed to burp. There's a little blinking light on this, and I didn't unmute it. I didn't hit it correctly. Oops. Hey, it happens. So Monya means peated. The Bunnahabhain Toiteach, spelled like Toich a da, means smoky too. Um, it's back here somewhere. Got a whole bunch of them back here. Oh, here we go. Here we go. So the Tweak Aga is peated. The Monya is peated. This is part of their core range. And Tweak Aga, you can see that, or let's spell like Tweak Da, um, means smoky too. And this is bottled at, should be 46.3. Yeah, 46.3. Most of the core range bottlings are going to be at 46.3. I don't know what's up with the 0.3. It's a little funny, but they just tend to be that way. All right. You know, with that 1 teaspoon of water in the Glenfarclas 105, they've become much more alike. Wow, what a huge improvement. The difference is, and maybe the Glenfarclas 105, you pour yourself some, you put a teaspoon of water in, and then you let it sit there for an hour so that the water resolves into it. Because in bringing a whiskey down to 55, if it started off, if this is cask strength, which it lost the ABV with age. So if you wanted to bring it down to 55, and if you just sort of drop water into it, I don't know. I think whiskeys can have sort of a shock to it, or the water and the whiskey hasn't really integrated that much. And so you give it a teaspoon of water and then let it sit there for a while. I've done experiments where I'm heading out the door, going to work in the morning. I put some whiskey in, put a teaspoon of water in, and then put a challenge coin on it, go to work. So it's sitting like this, you know, with commute time and everything else. By the time I get home, 10 hours. It's in it for 10 hours. And then see what it's like when I get home. Or on a weekend, um, taste a little bit in the morning, put water in it, taste it in the morning, put this on it. Okay, so early Saturday, and then later on in the day or Sunday, later in the day, come back to it, taste it again, and see the differences in what it's like now that you've added water. And has the water become much more integrated into the whiskey, and it doesn't seem like doesn't seem as thin. So it doesn't seem as thin. It's my recommendation for dealing with peated whiskeys. So adding a little bit of water, these two are much more alike. The big thing that's a standout between the two, there's a character in the Bunnahabhain, hard to describe, that's only going to come with age. Extraction from a cask can be gentle and evolve with time so that there is much more of an intermingling an absorption, it's like if you ever make a pasta dish and you have people over, you have dinner, and you make a bunch of pasta and you put this pasta sauce on it, and you serve it and it tastes good. But then you have some leftovers, and so you put that in Tupperware or plasticware and you put that in the fridge, and then the next day you're gonna have some leftovers for dinner from the day before. It tastes better the next day because the sauce has had time to integrate into the pasta. It's not the same with pizza. I like the pizza the day after, but it's not the same with pizza. But pasta does. Time does that with the spirit and the cask. It's a matter of integration, and there's an improvement in the quality of the flavor. In addition, there is a texture to the Bunnahabhain cask strength because of the age. Not only a better integration of the aromas and the flavors. We're talking minor differences. It's not a huge wow. It's not like this one's just slapping that one's upside the face, but there is an improvement in the quality that's only come with age. If you would have a Bunnahabhain cask strength 18-year-old, it would probably just blow your mind, or a 21-year-old. But of course, the obvious thing is in time, you're losing more and more of the spirit due to angel share, and it costs money to store casks. So, and of course, with a big age statement, it's going to be um, higher demand because that's just that put a bigger number on it, so it'll be more expensive. But these are both absolutely fantastic whiskeys. If you can't get the Bunnahabhain 12 cask strength, just not available, or it's a little bit out of your price range, I would say a satisfactory replacement or something in its place that you're going to really, really enjoy, that you're going to go, yes, this is just absolutely superb, is the Glenfarclas 105. I think this is doesn't get the ratings it deserve from whiskey tubers. Whiskey tubers love, yeah, leftover. Oh, yeah, spaghetti, yeah, anything, yeah, leftover, and wine even. So and then so if you have a little bit of wine left over, you put the cork back in, you put a topper on it. The wine has had 24 hours to open up. That spaghetti, say a bottle. I like Zinfandel with because it's actually Zinfandel goes back to Apulia in Italy and goes back known as Primitivo, and goes back to Croatia, known as Tribodrag. But it's a good, great wine for Italian foods. So if you can't get a Bunnahabhain 12-year-old cask strength, you just can't get it. But you can get a Glenfarclas 105 and add a drop of water to it. I think you're gonna be super super happy. You are really really gonna like the whiskey, and it's gonna be comparable. It's not the same, not quite as good. We're talking a nudge of difference. You give a point scores, maybe a point or two difference. But it's gonna be absolutely fantastic. You're gonna love it. All right, question number 5. Should be an easy one. This is a geography question. Where is Bunnahabhain Distillery located on Islay? A. Kildalton. C. On Rockside Farm. Excuse me. B. Rockside Farm. C. Southeastern shore of Loch Indal. Or dear D. Man, I am just stumbling on myself like Porky Pig. That's all, folks. Because I'm tired. Or near Port Asgag. I just find the NAS sherry bombs to be too hot. Yeah, yeah, I got it. I agree with you. I do. Add a spoonful of water. Try adding a spoonful of water. Rob Smith says D. So two things help improve integration of all the characteristics in a whiskey, particularly of a cask strength. One is aeration, just exposure to air, and secondly is a drop of water. In fact, that's going to be an issue or a topic for my next video. It's the cask strength doing. It's the yes. No, it's just me. I even when I'm at work or whatever, My brain is going faster than my tongue can go. It just I do I'm just like this all the time. And near Port Ascag. So let me show you the map. Let me show you the map. Oh, I love. So there's another distillery that should be on there, which is Ardnahoe. So Port Ascag is actually right next to Kalila. So to say it's near Port Ascag, it's closer to Port Ascag than it is anything else. If you haven't been to Islay, when you go up, it's a long, narrow road. You go past Kalila, you go past Ardnahoe, and then you get to Bunnahabhain. There's nothing else out there but shrubbery. So the only other thing that's close that you could name, other than the other distilleries, would be Port Ascag. You're right. Kildalton is down in Ardbeg, Lafroig, and Lagavulin. That's where Kildalton is. What were the other answers? The other answers were southeastern shore of Loch Indal. That is Bamore, and Rockside Farm is Kilhoman. Kilhoman. Fantastic. So on Monday, my review of the Kilhoman Saturn's cask will be posted. All this next week will be posted. Will be posted. Focusing and posting, focusing on Kilhoman, and I'll be posting short videos on Kilhoman. And then next Saturday, oh yeah, next Saturday I'm going to be out of town. And then so next Saturday, oh Psalm, if you're familiar with some of the Psalm movies, the fourth Psalm movie is coming out. It has a limited release in theaters. It will be at a theater in the Napa Valley. I think tickets are already sold out. I'm a big fan of the Psalm movies. In my living room, I have the Psalm 1, 2, and 3 posters autographed by people in the documentaries. So, and I studied with some of those guys for quarter of my Somalis. Anyway, next Saturday, I'll be up in the Napa Valley, which is about 2 hours from here. And by the time I come back, I'll be tired. So I'm going to do a live stream on Sunday next weekend rather than on Saturday. And we'll be looking at Kilhoman all week. Really looking forward to that because I've been waiting on that for a long time. There are so many cask drinks with age statements that are powerful in delivery, but don't have the burn. That's because of the age. That's probably because of the age. Or if they're peated, peat smoke, I don't understand the chemistry of it, tends to help reduce the bite and the burn. It just does. So if it's peated, that can help as well. So we have one question left, and we're coming up to the top of the hour. But the Highland Park cask strength. Mm, mm. The Highland Park cask strength is sweeter than both of these whiskeys. That smoke that kicks in about 3/4 of the way. The the barbecue character on that is just awesome. Wow. So I love the Bunnahabhain cask strength. I love the Glenfarclas 105, but just a little bit of peat. And it's integrated really well. The bottle, I'm about halfway through the bottle, integrated really well. If I had, honestly, if I had to choose between the Glenfarclas 105, the Bunnahabhain 12 cask strength, and that Highland Park cask strength, probably gonna reach for the Highland Park cask strength because I'm just a big peat fan. That is absolutely beautiful. And because the bottle's been open for a while, it has a lot of aeration. Absolutely spectacular. There's a sense in which the Highland Park cask strength, just a little bit, is showing some youth, but sometimes youth comes across as a freshness. As long as you're not getting the green new makey characteristics, as long as I'm not getting the aspartame, that fake powdered sugar character like that, then I'm fine with it. Then I'm fine with it. I really don't like those characteristics. Really don't like those characteristics. All right, one last question. This is a bonus question. If you missed any of the previous questions, but you get this one right, then you get 100%. Whatever. Um, this question, you will not find this information on any of my videos about Bunnahabhain. I came up with this question actually today whilst doing some studying of other distilleries. And I thought, oh, you know what? I should add this to the Bunnahabhain quiz. There's also more answers available than on any other question. So, in one sense, it's more difficult. Here's the question. Bunnahabhain Distillery is owned by Burns Stewart, as we saw in question number 3, a subsidiary of Distill, which is a South African company. What other Scotch distillers do they own? A. Deanston Distillery. B. Tobermory Distillery. C. Edredauer Distillery. D. Bladnoch Distillery. E. Wolfburn Distillery. Or F. Bow Blair. So there's 6 potential answers, or at least 6. Glenn says, for me, drinking NAS cask strength whiskeys, best outdoors, autumn air does wonders in neutralize. I could kind of see that. A little breeze blowing by. My only problem with drinking outdoors is even with the allergies, I can smell really well. I'll smell herbs and trees and the dirt and the leaves and everything else around me. That's my only problem with that. Wow. 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 Now, either you Googled it or you knew it. But bing, you are correct. You are correct. Congratulations. Wow. That's excellent. Now you might have Googled it, you might have cheated. I don't care. It doesn't matter. Well done. Well done. A reason why I came across that is I was working on my notes on Tobermory. So Tobermory Distillery, while we're studying, just pulling up quiz now. Tobermory makes Tobermory. They have a 12 and I think an 18. They do another whiskey that's peated. What is it called? Put that in there. Going with the crowd, A and B. There you go. What's the other whiskey that they make that Tobermory makes that's peated? Just put it in the comment section here. What's the other whiskey that Tobermory makes? Da-ding, da-ding. Man, Glenn, he is, man, there you go. Lecheg or Lechik. Lechik. That is absolutely right. In fact, that is right. That is right. That is right. That is correct. Talisker, that is wrong. Talisker is owned by excuse me. These are moving up. Talisker is owned by Diageo. So that alone, based on the previous question, all right, Talisker. Yeah, they're owned by Diageo. I was going to say Edredauer. Edredauer also produces a peated whiskey called Balekin. So they also make a peated whiskey called Balekin. All righty. So I would say, you know what? If you can get any of these 3 whiskeys, you are not missing out. These are all absolutely fantastic. I absolutely just love that extra smoky note of the Highland Park. But these are just superb whiskey. So I hope everyone enjoys the rest of their weekend. I want to thank everyone for tuning in. If you're watching on a replay, leave a comment, leave a question, and I will answer it. And if you haven't already, give it a thumbs up. And we'll see you a week from tomorrow, next Sunday, and we'll be looking at Kahoma. All right, until next time, Salanja.